Have you ever wrapped your hands around a warm cup of tea on a cold, rainy day? Have you felt that gentle warmth slowly spreading through your fingers? It's more than just a drink, isn't it? It feels like a quiet hug in a cup. But have you ever wondered where that simple magic began? How did a few green leaves steeped in hot water become the most popular drink in the world after water itself? This is a story that stretches across thousands of years. A story of emperors and monks, of great ships crossing oceans, of quiet rituals and grand traditions. Today, I invite you on a journey. We'll travel over misty mountains in ancient China and wander through the foggy streets of London. We'll discover how one small leaf changed the world. We'll see how people on opposite sides of the earth found comfort in the same plant yet embraced it in beautifully different ways. Pause for a moment. Right now, somewhere in the world, millions of kettles are boiling. Some people are stirring in milk and sugar. Others are watching delicate leaves unfurl and dance in a glass pot. Why do we love tea so much? Is it the gentle lift of caffeine that clears our minds? Or is it the calm that settles in with every sip? In this story, we'll search for those answers. We'll discover that tea is not only about taste, it is about memory, culture, and connection. It is a bridge between the past and the present. So find a comfortable seat. Perhaps pour yourself a cup of your favorite tea. Let's begin at the very beginning, in a land of legend and ancient mist. Are you ready? Let's travel back nearly 5,000 years to ancient China. Our story begins with a legend. Imagine a wise emperor named Shen Nong. He is said to have lived almost 5,000 years ago. People remember him as a thoughtful ruler and a lover of nature. He cared deeply about health and believed in the healing power of plants. One afternoon, the emperor was resting beneath a tree. As he always did, he was boiling water before drinking it. Suddenly, a soft breeze stirred the branches above him. A few small leaves drifted down and landed in the steaming pot. Slowly, the water began to change. It turned a soft golden brown. A fresh, delicate aroma filled the air. Curious, the emperor took a sip. Almost instantly, he felt alert, yet energized, yet peaceful. And so, the legend says, tea was born. Of course, this is only a story, but it reveals how deeply the Chinese people honor this plant. In the beginning, tea was not a drink for pleasure or conversation. It was medicine. People believed it could cleanse the body and sharpen the mind. Ancient healers used tea leaves to soothe tired eyes and calm aching stomachs. They even applied it to the skin. For many years, tea remained a quiet secret of doctors and monks. But as centuries passed, its role began to change. During the Tang dynasty, about 1,200 years ago, tea became something more than medicine. It became an art. Poets praised its beauty, calling it liquid jade. Philosophers spoke of tea as a path to balance and harmony, a way to sit with nature and with oneself. And tea was prepared very differently from the way we know it today. Instead of steeping whole leaves, people ground tea into a fine green powder. They whisked this powder into hot water until it formed a bright, frothy drink. Can you picture that vivid green surface, shimmering like jade in a bowl? This was the beginning of a tradition. Tea was no longer just a plant, it was becoming part of the heartbeat of Chinese life. It stood for hospitality, for respect, for quiet wisdom. But this small leaf was not meant to stay in one place. It was preparing for a journey. Ideas are like seeds, they long to travel. From the misty mountains of China, tea began crossing borders. It followed monks along narrow mountain paths and merchants along busy trade roads. One of the most important stops on its journey was Japan. About 1,000 years ago, Japanese monks traveled to China to study Buddhism. During long hours of meditation, they discovered something remarkable. Tea helped them stay awake. It sharpened their focus. It cleared their minds. When they returned home, they carried tea seeds with them. In Japan, tea became something extraordinary. It was no longer just a drink. It became a spiritual practice. The Japanese created what they call the way of tea, a slow, graceful ceremony filled with meaning. Imagine a small, quiet room, soft light, simple beauty. Every movement is careful and deliberate. Every bowl is chosen with intention. The ceremony teaches presence. It reminds people that even preparing a cup of tea can be an act of mindfulness and art form. Tea continued its journey across Asia. It traveled to Korea, where it was enjoyed in temples. It spread to Vietnam and to Tibet. In the high, freezing mountains of Tibet, life was harsh. People needed warmth and strength. So they transformed tea in a surprising way. They mixed it with yak butter and salt. Instead of a light drink, it became a thick, nourishing soup perfect for cold winds and snowy landscapes. Isn't that incredible? One single plant traveled across lands and became something new in each place. In one country, it was meditation. In another, it was a hearty meal. This is the true power of tea. It adapts, it fits into the lives, climates, beliefs, and traditions of the people who welcome it. While Asia was embracing tea in many forms, another part of the world had not yet discovered it. Far across the oceans, Europe was waiting. For centuries, Europeans had never heard of tea. They drank water, wine, or beer. But in the 1600s, everything changed. This was the age of discovery. Large wooden ships were crossing vast oceans in search of spices, silk, and gold. The first Europeans to bring tea home were Portuguese and Dutch traders. Imagine the first European sailor tasting tea. To him, it must have seemed strange, hot, slightly bitter water made from dried leaves of a distant, mysterious land. At first, tea was extremely expensive. It traveled thousands of dangerous miles by sea. Only the wealthiest families could afford it. It was stored in small, locked containers called tea caddies. Often, only the lady of the house had the key. People didn't yet understand how to prepare it properly. There's even a humorous story of early drinkers who boiled the leaves, poured away the liquid, and tried to eat the soggy leaves with butter. They had to learn that the true treasure was in the water. Gradually, word began to spread. European doctors claimed tea was good for health. They said it could cure headaches and even improve one's mood. Soon, fashionable society began hosting tea gatherings. Serving tea became a symbol of wealth and worldliness. But one country would change the story of tea forever. One nation would make tea part of its very identity. That country was Britain. At the time, Britain was building a powerful global empire. Its leaders quickly recognized tea's potential not just as a drink, but as a business. And soon, tea would move beyond the royal palaces and into ordinary homes. Have you ever wondered why the British loved tea so deeply? The story begins with a marriage and a powerful company. In 1662, a Portuguese princess named Catherine of Braganza married King Charles II of England. She adored tea. As part of her wedding gifts, she brought a large chest filled with it. When the queen drank tea, the royal court followed. If the queen loved it, it had to be fashionable. Tea became the drink of elegance. But how did it leave the palace and reach everyday people? The answer lies with the powerful East India Company. This enormous trading company had its own ships and even its own army. It began importing massive quantities of tea from China. As supplies increased, prices slowly dropped. Now merchants, lawyers, and shopkeepers could enjoy it too. But there was a problem. The British government placed very high taxes on tea. The taxes made it so expensive that smuggling became common. Under cover of night, small boats carried illegal tea to hidden basements along the coast. For a time, more smuggled tea was sold than legal tea. Eventually, the government reduced the taxes. Tea became affordable to nearly everyone. By the 1700s, London was home to beautiful tea gardens, outdoor spaces where people could stroll, listen to music, and sip tea together. Tea was becoming social, but it also played an important role during the Industrial Revolution. Before tea became widespread, many people drank weak beer throughout the day because water was often unsafe. To make tea, water must be boiled. Boiling killed harmful germs. So tea made workers healthier and more alert. Factories ran on tea. Offices ran on tea. In many ways, the British Empire ran on tea. And Britain didn't just drink tea, they built traditions around it. When you think of Britain, you probably imagine afternoon tea. But did you know that this beloved custom began simply because a duchess felt hungry one afternoon? In the early 1800s, most people in Britain ate only 2 main meals a day. One woman, Anna Russell, often felt a sinking feeling in her stomach around 4 in the afternoon. To solve the problem, she asked her servants to bring her a tray of tea along with small sandwiches and cakes. Soon, she began inviting friends to join her. They loved the idea. Before long, afternoon tea became a fashionable ritual among high society delicates: sandwiches, tiny cakes, and warm cups served on fine porcelain. It wasn't only about the food. It was about elegance. Silver spoons, lace tablecloths, beautiful tea sets. It was a graceful pause in the middle of a busy day. But tea was not only for the wealthy. For factory workers, a strong cup of black tea with milk and plenty of sugar was an affordable source of energy. This was known as high tea. Unlike the refined afternoon tea, high tea was a hearty evening meal served at a high table, often with bread, meat, and cheese. This is where the British style of tea became distinct. As Britain expanded its trade through the East India Company, much of its tea came from India and Sri Lanka. These teas were dark and strong. Milk softened the bitterness. Sugar added sweetness. Together, they created the creamy, comforting cup many people now associate with Britain. Think of the tea break. Even today, in offices and on construction sites across the UK, work pauses for a cuppa. In that moment, the manager and the worker stand side by side holding the same warm mug. Tea becomes a small symbol of equality. The British are also known for their stiff upper lip, remaining calm in difficult times, and what is often the first response to a crisis: put the kettle on. Whether in celebration or sorrow, tea is offered. It is woven into the social fabric of the nation. Yet while the British were adding milk and sugar, China was preserving a very different tradition. In Britain, tea is often a social pause. In China, it is a connection to the earth and to the self. Tea is considered one of the 7 necessities of daily life in China, alongside rice, oil, salt, sauce, vinegar, and firewood. But it is also an art form. To understand this, we must look at Gong Fu Cha. The term doesn't refer to martial arts. Gong Fu means performing something with great skill and devotion. In a Gong Fu tea ceremony, the tea maker is like an artist. A small clay teapot, tiny cups. The leaves are first rinsed gently to wake them. Water is poured carefully, sometimes from a height. Attention is paid to everything: the temperature, the aroma rising with the steam, the changing color of the liquid. The purpose is not to drink quickly. It is to appreciate. Each infusion reveals a new layer of flavor. The same leaves are brewed again and again, unfolding slowly like a story. China is home to hundreds of tea varieties. Green tea tastes fresh and grassy. Oolong may carry notes of flowers or ripe fruit. Pu'er, aged 4 years, holds the deep richness of earth after rain. Tea in China is closely connected to philosophies such as Taoism and Buddhism. It reflects the idea of Wu Wei, flowing naturally with life, rather than forcing it. When drinking tea, one is encouraged to grow quiet, to let worries settle, to taste the true character, the soul of the leaf. Milk and sugar are rarely added. Too many Chinese tea lovers, altering the flavor would hide the plant's natural beauty like painting over fine wood. Tea is also a gesture of respect. Young people serve tea to elders. At weddings, the bride and groom serve tea to their parents as a symbol of gratitude and honor. So here we have 2 worlds. One, lively, social, accompanied by cakes and conversation. The other, calm, meditative, centered on the leaf itself. Both are beautiful. Both reflect the values of their cultures. Let's place them side by side. In Britain, tea is often the background to conversation, business, or rest. It is social tea. In China, especially during a ceremony, tea is the main event. It is meditative tea. Preparation differs too. Britain traditionally favors fully oxidized black tea, strong and dark, often brewed in teapots or tea bags for convenience. In China, loose green or oolong leaves are preferred. Drinkers watch the leaves, unfurl the dance of the leaves. In the water, flavor tells another story. A classic British cup is bold, hot, creamy. Milk and sugar are part of the comfort. A Chinese tea lover often seeks purity in something called huigan, a gentle, natural sweetness that lingers after swallowing. They hope to taste the mountain air and rain within the cup. Philosophically, Tea in Britain symbolizes home and steadiness, a warm anchor in uncertain times. In China, tea symbolizes harmony with nature, a quiet doorway into stillness. And yet, despite these differences, a powerful connection remains. In both cultures, tea is about sharing. It brings peace, alone or connection with others. It forces us to slow down. The kettle cannot boil instantly. Good tea cannot be rushed. Whether in a high-rise apartment in Shanghai or a small cottage in the English countryside, the message is the same. Pause, breathe, be here. Two worlds, one leaf. Today, tea belongs to everyone. In Morocco, sweet mint tea is poured from a height into delicate glasses. In India, chai blends tea with ginger, cardamom, and cinnamon. In the United States, iced tea with lemon cools hot summer afternoons. In Taiwan, bubble tea sweet. Milk tea with chewy pearls has become a global trend. Tea continues to evolve. Scientists speak of antioxidants and heart health. They explain why tea may benefit our brains and bodies. But long before science, people already knew something simple. Tea makes us feel better. Think of its journey, from a legendary emperor's pot 5,000 years ago, to the cargo holds of sailing ships, to royal courts and factory floors, and finally, to your kitchen. Every sip connects you to that history. 2 monks in quiet temples, 2 duchesses in candlelit rooms, 2 farmers tending leaves on misty hillsides. You hold a piece of the world in your hands. So next time you make tea, don't rush. Notice the color. Breathe in the steam. Feel the warmth in your palms. Remember the tiny leaf that traveled across continents and centuries to reach you? We live in a hurried world, but tea reminds us that peace is always possible, 1 cup at a time. Thank you for taking this journey through the story of tea. I hope your next cup tastes just a little sweeter. And now I'm curious, how do you like yours? Pure and simple, with milk and sugar. However you drink it, I wish you a calm heart and a happy tea time.